Good evening, everybody. Today's topic is metabolic response to injury. This topic is very important as far as theory and practical concerned. So we'll start with John Hunter. He lived during 1728 to 1794. So 17th century. So he is famous. He is called father of scientific surgery. So he was working in St. George Hospital in UK. He is famous for inoculating syphilis by himself. That way he was very famous in that way. And during that 18th, 19th century, so many scientists they died because of that injury. Because at that time that metabolic response or basic principle nobody was not knowing. So that way that's what he become. So he was interested in that topic. So he is considered as a father of scientific surgery. Now, the objective of this topic is homeostasis, components of responses, mediators of responses, phases of responses. Phases means ebb and some responses are there, and factors which is avoidable factors and exacerbate the condition. So these are the objective of our discussion. So homeostasis. So definition of homeostasis in other ways it is called maintenance of nearly constant conditions in the internal environment. That is to bring the patient back to normal physiology. That is called homeostasis. So how to bring back by doing resuscitation or provide organ support. That kidney like ABCD, like kidney you have to IV fluids so that urinary output will be maintained and give oxygen and give IV fluids or blood whatever it is. So that's called ABCD. So to resuscitate the patient and provide organ support. This is how to maintain the homeostasis. So the essentially all organs and tissues of the body perform functions that help maintain these constant conditions. So which are the organs which are important? Important organs are heart, lungs, kidneys, spleen. So these are the organs which are important. So these are organs to maintain the homeostasis. So any stress which can prevent the homeostasis. So stress-free post-operative period is important. So see our topic is injury means not the road traffic accident. That is also included, but mainly the post-operative. So post-operatively, the body should attain the homeostatic effect. So that's what we are interested at present, not the major road traffic accident. Okay. So homeostasis is the foundation of normal physiology. So here the resuscitation is important as is ABCD. So surgical intervention in your critical care. If the patient is required ICU admission, you admit the patient in ICU and give IV fluids and rise to feeding, whatever it is, to maintain the physiology. Or urine output, give oxygen, give circulation, ABC. So nature of the injury and the response. So metabolic response to injury is graded. Like if severe injury, the greater the response. So the responses are physiological, metabolic, clinical and laboratory. So physiological response to start with, there will be mild increase in temperature, increased cardiac output, tachycardia, tachypnea, and the weight loss will be there because of the insulin resistance. That's a cause of weight loss or wasting. And the metabolic causes are hypermetabolism. There will be increased gluconeogenesis and the protein breakdown will be there and increased fat oxidation. Clinically, mild fever, tachycardia, tachypnea, wound infection or inflammation will be there. And laboratory findings are leukocytosis or leukopenia, hyperglycemia, elevated C-reactive protein, and acute phase reactants will be there. Hepatic and renal dysfunction. Hepatic in the form of hypoalbuminemia, hypoproteinemia will be there. Renal dysfunction in the form of decreased circulatory volume, which leads to decreased renal output, and renal dysfunction will be there. And the mediators of injury. Mediators are neuroendocrine in the form of hormonal, and the immune system in the form of cytokines. These are the two mediators of injury. So there are two phases of neuroendocrine, acute phase and chronic phase. So here the acute phase or critically ill patient, the acute phases are characterized by an actively secreting pituitary hormones and elevated counter-regulatory hormones. So counter-regulatory hormones in the form of cortisol, glucagon, adrenaline. So these changes are thought to be beneficial for short-term survival, this acute phase response. Chronic phase is associated with hypothalamic suppression. Another one is the acute phase is actively secreting pituitary. In chronic phase is associated with hypothalamic suppression and the low serum level of target organ hormones, which leads to catabolism and wasting. So immunological response of injury are, as I mentioned, there will be mild clinical features like tachycardia, mild fever, tachypnea, increased respiratory rate, and leukocytosis or leukopenia. So that and all leads to increased energy expenditure. If fever is there, increased tachypnea, tachycardia, so there will be body will be utilized, that glucose will be utilized or protein will be utilized. So increased energy expenditure is happening. So that again leads to catabolism. So here in pro-inflammatory phase, so here in severe injury, the above changes are accentuated, that clinical, laboratory, those features are accentuated. So leading to systemic inflammatory response syndrome. So here hypermetabolism will be there, marked catabolism and shock. These are the features of systemic inflammatory response, and which later on leads to multi-organ dysfunction syndrome. So here sometimes the genetic factor is also affected or involved. Some genetic persons, some genetically, those persons will not go for mods or cells. So that's a genetic factor. So because of this inflammatory response or in severe injury, these are the things happening. So there will be a counter-regulatory phase. In that way, counter-regulatory phase will help to adjust to maintain the homeostasis. That is called compensatory anti-inflammatory response syndrome, CARS. So here suppressed immunity and the diminished resistance to infection. So this is controlled, regulated, counter-regulated by this mechanism. Now there are, it is called phases, ebb and flow phase or model. It is called ebb and flow model. It is called founded by Dr. David during 1930. So here ebb and flow phases or model. During that time is after injury, first 24 to 48 hours, there will be patient is in shock. So in shock means cardiac output will be less, basal metabolic rate will be increased. So later on the patient will be in catabolic phase after 3 to 10 days. That is called flow model or flow phase. So here, because of the catabolism, why the catabolism is occurring? Because of the patient at that time is insulin resistance. So poor glycemic control leading to uh, catabolic phase. Here, insulin-like growth factor is released, and the recovery phase after weeks, that patient is in anabolic stage. So here, body building will be there, because at that time we will be treating the patient in ICU or after ICU or shifted to ward. Patient will be taking food, those things, or proteins. So in that way, patient is in the recovery phase. Weight gain will be there. So here ebb and flow models. So as I said, first 24 to 48 hours. Here patient. So these are the mechanism by which physiologically what is happening: decreases basal metabolic rate, decreased temperature, cardiac output will be low, hypovolemia. So lactic acid. This is leads to patient is in shock condition. So this is counter regulated by the catecholamine, cortisol, aldosterone. So the last phase, anabolic recovery phase. So this is here a replacement of lost tissue is occurring by giving IV fluids or glucose by ICU treatment. And here the physiological changes are positive nitrogen balance is occurring, and growth hormones is released. So the catabolic elements, catabolic causes are hypermetabolism, altered in skeletal muscle protein, and the liver protein like albuminemia, hypoalbuminemia, and the insulin resistance. These are the things, hormonal changes. These are the physiological changes that is occurring that leads to catabolic phase in the ebb and that model. So now the factors which leads to or which causes increased response to injury. So these are the factors further damages the response, injury response. So like hypothermia, pain, starvation, immobilization, sepsis, and hypotension. If you prevent these things, the patient will recover very fast. So if you prevent hypothermia, the metabolic response to injury will be faster. Patient will recover faster. So because of these factors, the response to injury and the recovery to after injury is low because of the hypothermia and the pain. So we have to prevent those things. So as I said, this is not a road traffic accident. This is a post-operative uh, injury which we are going to deal with. So because of this factor, hypothermia, so how to treat? That is called avoidable factors. So these are the factors which you can avoid and you can enhance the recovery phase. So how to avoid those things? Continuing hemorrhage you can prevent or avoid. If during the surgery you cauterize the hemorrhage or bleeder, in that way you can prevent the continuing hemorrhage. And to prevent the hypertension during surgery, to maintain the pressure in normotensive stage, that also you can prevent further bleeding. And hypothermia, how can you prevent the hypothermia? By giving warmer or blanket, woolen blanket. If patient comes in ICU, you can put a warmer or woolen blanket. You can cover the body. So in that way you can prevent the hypothermia. And tissue edema. The tissue edema is mainly due to the hypoproteinemia, hypoalbuminemia. So here, due to the systemic inflammatory response or after injury, the fluid and the plasma proteins and the leukocytes, macrophages, and the electrolytes, like, so those things which leave the intracellular space, intravascular space to and accumulate in the extracellular space. So here the extracellular space is accumulated by the plasma protein, fluid, leukocytes, macrophages, and the electrolytes. Thus, intravascular volume is reduced, the extracellular space is increased, leading to edema, tissue edema. So, for example, pulmonary edema. Pulmonary edema, the extracellular fat, the oxygen exchange will be reduced. So you should prevent the pulmonary edema or tissue edema. Later, this leads to shock. Here, because of the extracellular space edema, intravascular volume is less, there will be renal dysfunction will be there. And later on, this leads to shock because the intravascular volume is less and the intracellular volume is also less. And immobilization. Immobilization, you have to prevent the immobilization by making the patient mobile so that muscle wasting can be prevented. So long-term immobilization is if it is not required. For a bedridden patient, we cannot, for example, stroke patient, early mobilization, early physiotherapy is important. So in that way, you can prevent the muscle wasting. Okay. Now, how to prevent the unnecessary we mentioned about the avoidable factors. So here, how to prevent the major injury, how to prevent the, how to improve the metabolic response to injuries. So instead of general open surgery, you can choose minimal access technique like laparoscopic surgery. So here the minimal trauma will be there wherever it is, the abdomen. So early recovery will be there, early mobilization is occurring, and early you can start feeding early. So in that way, it is called enhanced recovery after surgery. So what are the mechanism? What are the system available to do the enhanced recovery after surgery? Do minimal access technique like minimal access surgery, laparoscopic, and the minimal period of starvation. Even now we are following the minimum 10 to 12 hours starvation. So if the patient is going to operate tomorrow, so patient should undergo nil per mouth or nil by mouth from 10 p.m. of today. Today night 10 p.m. onwards, patient should be nil by mouth or nil per hour. Tomorrow morning we will start doing operation at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. So till that long period of 10 to 12 hours, patient is in starvation. That can be avoided. So instead, you can make the patient 6 to 7 hours starvation is more than sufficient. And so these are the headings which are given to enhance the recovery after surgery. So epidural analgesia, how it helps. So post-operatively, patient will have pain. Because of the pain, stress, patient will not take any feeding or immobilize the patient will be in immobilized posture because of the pain. So in that case, in general anesthesia, along with the general anesthesia, in open case, you can give epidural also. So postoperatively, to prevent the pain, you give epidural analgesic through the epidural catheter. So in that way, patient will not feel pain. So epidural anesthesia is not required for laparoscopic technique because after laparoscopic, the pain will be minimum. Okay. So epidural anesthesia is useful in open surgeries. And early mobilization, as I mentioned, early mobilization is important because once you do make the patient early mobilization, that confident the patient will have that I am not suffering from any severe problem, so I can walk. So that confidence is important to make to patient to become that early recovery. These are the things which help the patient for early recovery from surgery or injury. Thank you.